Hello! Welcome to my freaking PowerPoint. In this video, I will be going over my predictions and what I want to happen in Deltarune Chapter 5, so please enjoy. I'm a very Deltarune obsessed person, heavily in love with this game since 2018. I watch theory videos all the time, and I do watch lots and lots of let's plays. Even though I have played it by myself, I just need to re-consume the same content over and over because I'm autistic. But if I do miss anything, or if I misunderstand anything, feel free to drag me out into the street and shoot me. Now, disclaimer, I would not at all be shocked if I get a lot of things wrong. I was someone who thought that Catty and Jockington would be in the Chapter 4 Dark World, and that is very obviously not true. However, I'm not completely stupid because I didn't ever think that Toriel would be a party member, and I especially didn't think that Toriel would be involved in the weird route. Anyway, yeah, this video is mostly so I can watch myself back after the chapter releases and laugh at everything I got wrong. I think, and this is a very easy prediction because obviously the Cyan Soul attack is in the trailer, but yeah, I think all the flowers are going to be important NPCs, which I am very excited for because I'm kind of craving new, interesting, good Darkners. I feel like the previous two chapters were slightly lacking in that department, other than like Penna and Garson. I feel like we could do a little better. And what I'm actually really excited for is another shop where we get a full big animated art of the shopkeeper and lots of dialogue options and such. I think that was completely missing in the past two chapters, and I miss it dearly. It was so great. I also believe that Cyan being shown in the trailer here, presumably being an important character as a flower in the Dark World, was actually referenced in the Goner Maker just because Cyan is such a random color to be there. I think all of these in the Goner Maker are probably referencing characters. However, I do notice that there is not a red flower, but let me counter that by saying the flowers are based on the souls. Who has the red soul? Me. So here's a bit of an asshole, but what if Chris pulls the soul out their ass and I get loose again? What if I get to be loose in the Dark World and hang out with the other souls? Okay, that is kind of ridiculous. But something along those lines. I think there will be some connection drawn between these human soul related flowers and my human soul. Even though I understand these are literally just Asgore's wedding flowers in this universe. But let me dream, let me hope. I think Noelle will not show up in the Dark World. Rest in peace, Noelle. I do love you, but I just really don't see it happening. If anything, I can see Noelle returning to the Dark World, probably in Chapter 6. I really want her back. I love her so much. She might be my favorite character, unsure. I do love all of them. But I love her to the point I'm currently crocheting a Noelle plushie to go with my Ralsei one because evil Tony decided that no Lightners get any merch. So now I have to make it myself. I do think she will play an important part in the Light World section. Obviously, we know she's going to be at the festival with us, with Susie, but like, you know, we're also going to be there third wheeling. And I'm very excited to see her. I just hope that it's not a little section. I want it to be a big section. I want it to be almost as good as the Chapter 4 section, you know? We got so much Noelle there, so much Suzelle. Really great. I want more emotional focus on Chris. And here's a bit of a proposal. I think the other two, it's very possible that they will find out about the soul situation. Obviously, Ralsei already knows, but he hasn't addressed this, and I think him addressing it even would still be a gigantic moment. But Susie finding out would be even more gigantic. And you might argue, that is too much to be happening at this point, that is endgame stuff. Well, let me remind you, people used to say that about Susie finding out what the Dark Worlds really are. And then that happened at the start of chapter 3, which indicates that a lot of the things people are assuming are too endgamey for now can just happen whenever. Things are speeding up, things are ramping up. This is our last fun adventure before the sun goes down. I think some big reveals can happen before shit hits the fan. This is more of a hope than a prediction. I want so much more emotional focus on Chris to the same extent that Ralsei got in chapter 4. Some people will say, oh, that was chapter 3. Chapter 3 was the Chris chapter. And I would say, yeah, a bit, but there is so much more to be said that has not yet been said. And chapter 3 doesn't nearly cover it. And we need more. More. Waiter, more Chris. Okay, I didn't put any animations in this because I'm stupid. I'm obsessed with the art therapy plotline. I need the next egg room to be at a similar level or even more Chris lore relevant than the last ones. I'm starting to really love this. What I think the Eggman kind of represents in these dark worlds is Chris's repressed memories about the disappearance, about what happened that night, and about what they saw and about how they felt after, because it's quite clear to me that this indicates Chris was taken to an art therapist as a child to try and coax more answers out of them about what exactly happened in front of their eyes. I'm so fascinated by that. I love the idea that Chris saw December as she disappeared, or even had something to do with it on an accidental level. I think there's a lot of guilt there. I think there's a lot of trauma, and I think Chris and Noelle have handled their trauma in two very different ways. I'm of the opinion that Noelle wasn't there for the exact moment, but she was there on that night. And she is someone who lives with rose-tinted glasses, who's repressing the bad things, trying to forget, trying to live in her happy moments. I think Chris is trying to push that back, but they remember vividly everything that happened. But I also wouldn't be surprised if they don't, and which is why we're taken to art therapy. But my opinion right now is not that they didn't remember, it is that they were refusing to talk, which is quite in character. Yeah, so more cool Eggman, please. And more Chris and Soul interaction would be delightful. I was enamored with this scene where Chris chased me around with a hockey stick. I love it dearly. That is a great section of the game, and I really, really want more. So, Kobe, give me more, please. Side tangent, because I have to have a rant real quick. This kind of came up because I was writing about Susie finding out about the soul situation, and it reminded me so many people act like Susie is friends with us and not with Chris. That Chris is a total puppet, and when we leave, Chris is a different person, and Susie will be very discombobulated by this. In reality, we were her real friends, which, let me tell you, wrong. Not true. Completely false. So many of their moments are without player input because their personalities are so compatible. There are dialogue choices where if we pick something that Chris thinks Susie won't vibe with, they say it in a jokey way to make her laugh instead because they have the same sense of humor. They are becoming best friends, and maybe we helped start it, we helped put Chris in that position, but they are so compatible as people, not us and Susie, but Chris and Susie. As for how I think a reveal would go, I genuinely don't know. Because I think Susie is a lot more intelligent and reasonable than people make her out to be, but she is still an emotional person. I don't think she would have a major crash out. It is possible that the Lancer betrayal crash out was a bit of slight foreshadowing for how she would feel when betrayed by a friend. But I don't believe she's gonna go, I hate you, and then run away. I think she is more intelligent than that, but she will be freaked out, and if that happens in this chapter, I will be jumping for joy. I need it. Toby, Toby, lock in. Give me emotional Chris Susie friendship drama, please. I think Asgore will be being manipulated by his flowers. First of all, if we look at the prophecy, it says the flower man trapped in asylum. To me, that very much reads as trapped in safety. The flowers want to keep him safe. They want to take him away from the troubles of his real life. They want to take him somewhere nicer, because these flowers are Asgore's wedding bouquet. He has kept them alive for so many years. He's taken care of them. He sits and he speaks to them. He has a really close relationship with these flowers. They probably do love him to some extent, even if he sat there whinging at them all the time. They probably feel a lot of affection towards Asgore, and I think if they become Darkners, they would want to take him away from reality. They would want to be his escape. So they would trap him in asylum, trap him in safety. Which does lead me to believe that he may not be the actual boss of this chapter, which a lot of people seem to assume he will be. And a lot of people assume that he creates this dark world. And I'm very much on the fence about that, because obviously he knows about dark worlds. He may discover how to make one and then make one in his flower shop, but it very much could just be someone else again. He could be more a victim than anything. That is a strong possibility, to me at least, that it's based on his shop and based on him, but he may not be the driving force behind everything. If he does create this dark world, it may be to try and dig into these dark worlds and prove to everyone that he's not a complete nutter and he hasn't been dragging out the disappearance of a young girl just for the sake of it. Or this could be connected to some planned attempt with Carol to get December back. However, outside of somehow the Roaring managing this, and this just being another dark world, I'm not really sure how that would connect. I think a very important thing that I have not seen a lot of people mention is I think it's kind of crazy to think that Asgore in his right mind would fight Chris. I don't see that happening, not even Susie or Ralsei, because he is just a nice person. He's not going to fight children unless he is completely out of his mind or manipulated or someone else is fighting them and he is trapped in safety. I don't have any visuals for this section because I want to steal anyone's art, but there will be a rise in Barra Asgore art, and there will be more Woodgore ship fuel. I decree it, I order it, it will happen. This is going to be an Asgore humiliation chapter, because every scene with Asgore is an Asgore humiliation scene, because Toby seems to hate Asgore. However, I'm just really not sure where I think his character will be taken, because there is an angle here of what if he is so obsessed with the past and obsessed with proving himself that he discards other things. He maybe puts Chris in danger. He puts the other kids in danger. He tunnel visions onto the past, onto recreating what he had, and he becomes a bit more of a morally ambiguous character. I think it is equally realistic that he could be taken and manipulated by his flowers, which are more of a metaphorical representation of how Asgore is trapped in the past, as they are his wedding bouquet. Something I want in this chapter is a lot more exploration of the Chris and Asgore father-child relationship, because I feel like there's a lot you could infer from how they interact in the game so far, but I really want to know more. I want it to be complicated, I want it to be difficult. I love that. To me, it has always felt that Chris is closer to their mother than their father, but I'd love to know why. I'd love to know how Asgore feels about Chris. What are you guys up to? How well does Asgore know Chris as a person? I've always got the feeling that Asgore loves Chris so much, but loves Chris as a child rather than as a person, and doesn't really know much about their interests or their daily life or their relationships or anything. And I really, really want to know what Chris thinks about Asgore's involvement in all this. If they really are in the roaring group chat together, which I don't believe so, because I think that is too much interaction for Chris and Asgore. I feel like Chris wouldn't want to be in a whole conspiracy with Asgore. It doesn't feel like that is what's happening. But I would love to know what their actual opinion on this whole situation is. This is less likely to be addressed, but I would love to know where Chris was even from. We have not seen a single other human ever. Where did the Dreamer family get this human child from? Please tell me. And we know that the game will at least touch on adoption a little bit, given that Chris has this whole horned headband thing happening of wanting to become a monster, wanting to fit into this monster family, feeling like an outcast for their species. I would just love more of that, and any indication of where Chris came from would be amazing. However, part of me does think that won't be addressed. Maybe not now, maybe not ever. Given the way that Hometown is so incredibly closed off in the rest of the world, we never hear anything else. There is no world outside of this town called Hometown. I just think that's a suspicious name, right? That's weird. That's odd. What reality are we living in? What is happening? Why are we the only people on the planet? I think Des will not have her design revealed. I've seen a lot of people online posting their art and saying posting my December design before the canon design is revealed, and I think she's not coming. Not now, definitely, possibly not ever. I'm kind of a believer in the concept that she may never be shown, that she might be dead and we won't even get a proper flashback of her. Because to be fair, the only flashback I can remember us getting in Deltarune is the Tenna one, which shows this desk outline, which is on screen now. I think there may be commentary in this game about how aggressively trying to get back to what once was will ruin the present. So my prediction is she will not be shown, and if she is, I will be flabbergasted. I'm thinking Asriel will probably be shown, given that he was going to come back for the festival, but I wouldn't be surprised if we're being baited again, because I have this suspiciously papyrus-shaped trust issue with Toby Fox, in that he may be stringing us along again. So hopefully we get to see Asriel and he is tall, like just like that. But that's my fan design for Deltarune Asriel. I hope you guys like it. Most of the things on this page are inspired by a video by KazooCat and also by discussions with my girlfriend, who doesn't really play much Deltarune, but she loves to have an opinion. So she went on a whole rant about this concept for the night. The night being the memory of December, or the literal night of her disappearance. Some sort of amalgamation of memory and trauma from her loved ones, building into this destructive dark world force. I think the night embodies a lot of desperation, maybe, and possibly even is a negative representation of December. I think the night embodies a lot of desperation of December's loved ones, and could even be a more violent, negative depiction of who December really was, given that this is a being made from trauma. And as I said previously, I think it's very possible we'll never get a canon death design. as much as that kind of sucks. Then again, as much as I do enjoy this theory, I do also see the perspective of people who want her to have agency as a person and actually exist within her own right in this story and be her own force. I cannot imagine that she's just under the mask and she'll pop it off and go, "Hi guys, I'm December, what's up?" It could never be that simple. She can't just be hiding out here. She's dead, she's a concept, she's something. She's just not well and alive. I wrongly believe we will get some big Suzel development. I'm thinking hand holding is quite a realistic ask, but I'm kind of gunning for a confession. I think getting this pair together before everything goes down would be a good choice. I want a confession of feelings at the festival, and I want the festival to happen at night so it's more aesthetic, and it'll be wonderful. I'll be screaming, kicking my feet, giggling, rolling around. So I feel like they got so much build up in chapter 4, moving from Noelle just having a one-sided obsession with Susie to them having a proper relationship built on mutual interest and conversation and just vibing with each other. I think they're a very good pair and they had a lot of development, and now they should get together. But also imagine, like, what if Chris gets lonely? That would be so sad. I am a Chris L lover. Cruzy is also great, but I do like them more as a platonic pair. I'm a Chris L lover, but more so in the weird route because I like how angsty it is. But what if Susie and Noelle go off alone and then Chris is sad, but then Birdley swoops in? Wouldn't that be excellent? I think the secret boss is going to be more like chapter 3 rather than chapter 1 and 2. And I guess kind of 4, but 4 is also different. Erson's a very different person. I was thinking maybe some kind of trial to obtain the Shadow Crystal, but then I was thinking this will be probably the last Shadow Crystal, right? So maybe we'll face whoever has been giving them out. But if we think that's Gaster, then I don't think that's realistic. I'm just not sure what that could be. I'm really unsure in this area. I'm not expecting us to get another Blorbo character along the lines of Jevil and Spamton. I feel like Toby made Spamton and then realized that's his favorite character and then realized he could never top the concept, unfortunately. If Spamton showed up again, I would lose my mind. I really want him to. But I do doubt it. I did also hum and haw about Asgore being sort of a shadow crystal holder, but that does say Black Shard, which is more related to the Knight, as that is what chips off of the Knight if you defeat her. So I'm not quite sure about that one, but wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be fun? Yeah. So I think that Rose will show up again because I really want him to. And I think Lancer will show up again because I really want him to. And I think Starwalker will show up again because I really want him to. This is meant to be the last fun adventure. We have to get these fucking guys in here. These absolute silly bitches in the room. Please. Okay, weird right predictions. Warning, I don't have many, to be honest. I really don't know where the weird route's gonna go. In the light world, I think that we'll get more forced Chriselle, and it'll be very creepy and sad and horrible and angsty. Just like chapter 4 was. Genuinely, that chapter 4 weird route scene in Noelle's bedroom is one of the best scenes in the entire game. It's so sickening. Not in a gay way, in like a I feel disgusted and sick way. And I really love that. I think it's excellent. I think Suzel will be killed as a ship. I think Chris and the Soul will fully steal Noelle away from Susie, and happy Suzels will no longer be allowed to happen. Also, I'm kind of the opinion that Carol does not understand what is really going on in the weird route, and she doesn't understand just how much pain Noelle is being put through. And if she did, she would be very upset. I don't think she's fully in on it. Some people think she's very, very evil and fully in on it. And well, I will say, she does seem like a very toxic parent she's more toxic in a extremely overprotective way. So I think that kind of toxic parent would not be happy with all this is happening to Noelle. Obviously, Carol does have a lot of trust in Chris, and maybe the soul, I don't know. But yeah, I just have faith that Carol is not fully evil and would. Oh, hmm, okay, okay, wait. Connections. Connections are happening. If we propose that the weird route is sort of, kind of, about the pursuit of the past at the expense of the present, will it be Carol having to decide if the torment and torture and abuse of her alive daughter is worth the risk if it means she has a chance of getting her dead daughter back? It could be about, is sacrificing the present to get back to a nicer past worth it? Obviously, that is not the only thing the weird route's about, but I think they definitely could take that angle for some of it. Okay, in the dark world. Yeah, I kind of went over that. Yeah. And I don't know. Going into like the chapter 3 weird route guide kind of content, I just don't know because I was speaking to my brother, and he seems to be of the opinion that what if we have to go around killing or doing something to the people in hometown to progress the weird route. But I just think as that doesn't fit Deltarune as it seems to be going so far. I mean, we didn't even kill Birdley in the Dark World. He's in hospital. I don't think we're suddenly going to go around hurting people in the real world. I'm not a believer in that. But other than denying that, I actually don't have any idea to put forth. Friend, please have Aura. Please, for the love of God. I want to see him. I really don't want him to be goofy or comical in any way. I don't want him to be a blorbo. I need him to be creepy and scary. I want him to be unnerving. I'd love it if he had the tail of hell, like a kitty cat. Would be good. Essentially, I am so attached to the concept of Friend being this creepy entity that if it isn't, I would be actually like a little bit upset. And also, if Gaster's connected, well, wouldn't that be nice? My brother also suggested that Friend could be the secret boss of chapter 5, given the whole Field of Pink and Gold thing. I'm really not feeling that idea. It just feels like Friend is something more than just a secret boss. But it could be possible that he is a secret boss and is doing more and is more lore relevant. But yeah, I'm not super attracted to that idea, but it is possible. Yeah, and the roaring or whatever. Yeah, and the Jockington beard or whatever. The sun goes down or whatever. Yeah, that's probably gonna happen at the end of chapter 5, and it's gonna be really fucked up and scary.